What's good, Des Moines? Welcome to another episode of Invitation By Invictus. Today, I have one of my closest friends and collaborators, Whitney Warne. Whitney is the brains behind Ivory House Photography. And is it like Enneagram by Whitney?
Yeah, so Evoke EQ is the official brand name for my Enneagram work.
Yes. Yeah. I asked Whitney to come on because Whitney does this Enneagram stuff. I don't know if you guys don't know what the Enneagram is, we're going to deep dive into it right now because it is fascinating.
The total study. So if you don't know what Enneagram is, it is a personality assessment that goes in and it assesses your core fears and desires. So the subconscious stories that are happening at a deep level that until we see them written out on paper are running the show without our permission.
Yeah.
And when you read that, you're like, oh, that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, for sure. I think when we sat down, I was like, holy fucking shit. This is creepy.
Yeah, it's like you get this. So we use the IEQ-9, which is the very, very best Enneagram assessment on the market. And when people read it, they're like, were you watching me? And I'm like, no, this is a generic report in a lot of ways. I mean, it's a highly specified generic report. But the comfort I felt in that is that there are so many people out there that feel and think the way I do.
Yes.
I'm not alone. I'm not weird. And like, this is just simply what I need to move through in order to get to my next level.
Mm-hmm. And what is that next level?
So it's different for there's 9 different styles in the Enneagram. So you get a number, either it's 1 through 9. Correct. We happen to both be 8s.
Correct. Enneagram 8s. And we're controller or challenger.
Yep, exactly, which shocks no one watching this. But you get a number and then it's going to say based on that number, what's your core fear desire?
Yes.
So like 8s, our fear is ever appearing weak or vulnerable or having somebody control us.
Correct.
So when that's your set point, when you're born that way, you become somebody who is strongly independent, who has strong opinions about things, who develops a confidence that people are like, oh, you're so confident.
Correct.
Well, the thing about being confident as an 8 is that it's protecting us from ever having to feel or acknowledge that we're weak or vulnerable in a situation.
Yeah.
So it's actually a mask. And some of the biggest work I've had to do is like admit when I'm not confident.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine's more the vulnerability piece. And I've just I've kind of leaned into it as I've gotten older a little bit more. Like I used to not want to cry and not I cry in front of them all the time.
It's necessary. Well, and when I started being able to cry in front of my team and just like, hi, we're doing this.
Yeah.
It was when I started to trust the people around me.
Yeah.
And when I had that, I was like, cool, I'm going to let you in on the secrets of what's happening behind the mask. I'm not superhuman. I don't have super strength, even if I tell myself that all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Whitney does everybody that comes and works for us at Invictus.
I do. And it's a good time. I mean, there's nothing better for somebody. I'm human obsessed. I think that's why I started in photography.
Oh, yeah. That is a good way of putting it.
Yeah. I love to find out how people work. I love to support them in whatever their next level is.
Okay.
And so in the photography world, and I still am very active there, but so many of my clients come in and they don't want to be photographed. They are literally
true.
I mean, that's my tagline. I photograph people who don't want to be photographed.
Yeah, I send people who don't want to be photographed to you because I know how to work through them in the video aspect. Video is easy to manipulate. Photography is a little bit more tricky.
Well, you gotta capture that exact moment with that real smile, with that real lean in.
Yeah.
And being able to lead someone through that, what I started to realize is that everybody was coming with their own set of stories, insecurities. And when I discovered the Enneagram, I discovered why. What were they really afraid of in that moment? What were they really thinking they were giving up by stepping in that studio?
Okay.
So it's more just the Enneagram expands how you talk to people.
Correct.
And how flexible you are with them.
I would say that's very accurate because it's actually helped me understand more so the people that come and work for me and like what makes them tick and what motivates them and how to keep them in like without flaming out, right?
What have been some of your biggest, as we've gone through these conversations, realizations in terms of who you work with and how you work with them?
Well, I think now because we've been working together for the last couple years pretty closely, I can see like their patterns and their behaviors, and I can see some of their social cues and things like that. And then, like, for instance, Liz, I had Liz pegged as a social and a 7. And sure enough, that kid popped up with a social 7. And I was like, yes!
I see you. I know you.
Yes. And I know what makes you tick. I know you like adventure. I know you like the new things. Just like old Calvin here. Calvin's the same way. But the difference between Calvin and Liz is Calvin's more of the introverted side, so he's a little bit self-preservated versus the social. But there's that balance between them.
And that's, you just talked into something that a lot of people who just casually study the Enneagram don't necessarily know about, which is the dominant instincts. So you're talking about social, self-pres, and one-to-one.
Correct.
And in that space, that's why it's not just core motivation. So 7s, their core motivation is to live life to the fullest and avoid pain.
True.
Well, for a 7, pain is repetition, being trapped, restriction, boredom.
Yeah.
Like, that's like Calvin's probably feeling.
Yeah. Doing the same shit.
Can't do
right,
that.
Buddy?
We're looking at you.
Yeah.
And so anytime that you can give a 7 a new experience, that's when their energy is going to get going.
Yeah.
But the growth work for a 7 is, can I stick with the project till the end?
Yes.
And so it's like, how do you balance those two?
Correct.
Just like for us, for us, it's surrender, leading with people, being with our team, like bringing them side by side. And I know that's a journey that both of us have been on as business owners and leaders. It's like, okay, I don't want to do it all. But as 8s, we learn how to do it all.
Well, I think it's kind of like, it's always been like, get out of our way.
Yeah.
Let us finish it.
Let me just get it done.
I'll get it done, and then you can take care of it. I think that's a huge factor for an 8.
And then when you start really having people on your team that you trust, it's like, oh, I don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a huge moment for me of like, I've got people that are better at this than me. Let's use their skill sets.
For sure. I mean, like I've told them several times, if I was to shoot and edit and do all the things that I essentially pay you to do, then I wouldn't need you. Yeah. So this is why.
Do it.
Yeah, this is why you're here. I'll get you the jobs. I'll take care of the clients. I'll do the project management aspect. I'll do the directing that leaves you to be the cinematographer.
Yeah. The hard part, though, I think, because we've both been in those roles of doing the thing.
Yeah.
Is that it's not necessarily handing that off, especially when you've trained them and trust them and all that good stuff. But at this stage in my business, I'm not doing as much.
Okay.
Like there's less doing. There's more leading. There's more,
for sure,
planning. It's like, where do we go next? It's a lot of cerebral work.
Yeah.
Which for someone like me who's so action and tactical, it does require me to sit down and be like, okay, you don't need to do that. And in fact, if you do it, you're taking something off of your team's plate that is theirs.
Yeah.
And so it's that constant, like, what's mine and what's yours conversation. And so sometimes I find I'm like, I just want to do something. But here I am making sure we, have enough money to pay ourselves all the time and like having conversations and networking. And I'm like, what do you do? Well, I worry about the money. Yeah. That's actually my biggest role, making sure we all get paid every week.
I feel you 1,000%. Okay. So you've done this for Team Invictus, essentially. Can other people out there in the world, can you do that for them?
Absolutely.
So you do it for corporations?
I do it for corporations. I do it for small teams. I do it for individuals. It really depends on what you're looking for.
Okay.
So I approach the Enneagram from the lens of emotional intelligence.
Sure.
And emotional intelligence, if you haven't heard that term before, is pausing, waiting, and then really considering what you're feeling before you unleash on the person in front of you.
Okay.
And some people, 8s we're quick. We're quick to unleash whatever we're thinking, feeling. So our work is to pause, breathe, and react with empathy.
Correct.
But there's some types, like a 9, they might not react at all.
The peacemaker.
Correct. And so their work in emotional intelligence is to take action, to assert their opinions, to use their voice.
Yes.
And to acknowledge their feelings in the space.
I have one of those as well.
So it's interesting that each type has a relationship with emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And they're each working on the same skill sets, but differently.
Yes.
And so whether you're an individual, a team, or a corporation, I serve all of those demographics.
Okay. So you go in, you do the one-on-one sessions with them, break it down for them.
Yep.
Right? And then you do the team settings.
Yep.
And then what happens after that?
So it depends on how long people want to engage. Some people just want the quick hit. Like, I want everybody to know their styles. I want them to have a deep understanding. And we're going to do a day of teamwork.
Sure.
That's great to get people started. And then I love to have like 2-hour follow-up time with the team every 2 to 3 months.
Oh, okay.
To continue to reinstill. I have a lot of content that we can talk about giving and receiving feedback, coaching to individualize types.
Sure.
We can talk about how to persuade, especially from a sales mentality. Like if you have a team that's selling things, it's really important to know how to do that so that it hits all of the different motivations.
Oh, okay.
So that's one way. And then for corporations, we have a conference now. We can come and give an internal 2-day conference.
Yeah, the Evoke EQ conference, right? Which you just had.
So we just completed our very first conference, February 9th and 10th. We had 55 people there.
Yeah.
It was amazing. You just finished the videos for it. They look incredible.
Yeah.
And so that is Enneagram for Evolving Leaders. It's underneath the Evoke EQ brand.
Sure.
Evoke EQ is top. Enneagram for Evolving Leaders is the conference.
Okay.
And then the goal, I built that conference to take it into organizations because I have so many clients reaching out saying, I want to impact a massive number of people with this. How do we do it?
Okay.
And for me, conference style.
Okay.
Best way to do that.
So 55 people came to this conference, and then you basically did deep dives with them, right? As a whole.
Yes. Yep. So we went in and we talked about each number. We had people raising their hands. We had people of every type there.
Yeah.
So that, and we were, you never know when it's an open conference, who's going to show up. We were so fortunate to have each motivation in the room. So we got to hear, and you could start to understand, oh, that's a 6. That's what a 6 sounds like. That's how they're going to show up in the workplace. I bet my coworker is that exact same style.
Okay. So these people are kind of like when I started working with you, is that I started recognizing the types. So that's what this conference helps identify.
It helps you identify the types. But the biggest thing it helps us with is simply realizing that very few people are operating the exact same way we are.
I don't know, 2 people are alike, right?
Yeah. But we so often coach, respond, and treat people the way we want to be treated.
Okay.
The tough part, coming from an 8 perspective, I just tell everybody to buck up and figure it out. That doesn't work for everybody, turns out. In fact, it turns some people way off.
Yeah. I would say that's a very, very true statement.
Exactly. So that translates well to people who move through the world like I do, because they're like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Like if I told you that, you'd be like, yeah, okay.
I'd be like, yeah, 1,000%. That's
exactly what I'd tell myself. Now go away.
Yeah.
So I can buck up and get over it. But you just start to learn that even if I don't know someone's Enneagram style, I still know that they're different from me, and I get to take a different approach.
Okay.
And you can start to hear it, and you can start to coach to it.
Okay.
And there's key cue words that you start to pick up on. And you're like, oh, that person is a 2, and they want to be liked and appreciated, so they like and appreciate others. Like they're very vocally appreciative. Well, that person, if I'm warm, if I'm story-based, if I'm like a warm hug to them, they're immediately going to feel relaxed around me.
Yeah, for sure.
So you just start to listen and pick up on their cues.
Yes. Yeah. Hunter is a 3. And I'm like, dude, get up. Get up. Take a walk. Go to the bathroom. You don't have to sit here for 3 hours to finish this video. Because
he'll go, 3s, a lot like 8s, will go all the way to the end.
They will. They have to get it done.
They have to get it done.
That's their motivating factor.
Yeah. Well, he wants to get it done, and he wants to get it done in the best. Like it's going to be the best at the end, which is a great problem for an employee to have an employee.
Right.
We'll take that one.
Yeah.
But the reminder for somebody that's set up like him is exactly what you're doing. Hey, moderation. Hey, we're not going to burn out here.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. I've had to basically be like, get up.
Yeah. Get home. Go home.
Or I'd be like, it's 4 o'clock. Go home.
Yeah.
For real.
And that, I think, is the cool part about leadership is when you get to know your team at that level, you can actually care for them in a way that they feel it. And is what, for me, it's what's created such loyalty in my team and what's kept them I mean, my people don't go anywhere. And I don't know if there's anything special about that other than we all have a common mission that we're all 100% in on.
Yes.
They have huge pieces of that puzzle. And I do my very best, and I mess it up all the time, but I do my very best to treat them how they feel most appreciated.
For sure. I would agree. Yeah. I know Calvin likes new adventures. So I'm like, Calvin, do you want to go to this place? And he's like, oh, yeah.
Let's do that.
I'm in. I'm like, okay, dope. So I know I can always count on him.
To be the yes. But there might be some people on your team that are like, I kind of like some consistency.
Yeah.
And when you know that, you can say, okay, here are my people who can run and maintain really well. Here are my people who need new challenges all the time.
Correct. So what is the least common Enneagram type? That's like the unicorn.
I don't see a ton, and this could be my sample, right? Because there's certain people that come to me a lot and there's certain people that don't, but I spend a lot of time in corporations.
Yes, you do.
So there are also types that I see, like a lot of engineers have like a 5-3-1 setup.
Sure, I can see that.
Because the core type is 5 or 3 or 1, but you get someone who wants to understand, someone who wants to be the best, and someone who wants to get it right.
Okay.
You're going to see a lot of them in that space.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't see a lot of 4s in the corporate world.
And 4s are the
creative, intensive creatives.
Yes.
So these are people who deep feelings, really want to be heard around their feelings.
Yeah.
In the corporate space, those who have stuck it out, they get a lot of feedback on the fact that they are emotional beings. But 4s are the people that really ground us in, hey, team, we've got work to do. Hey, have we watched this? They're like the authenticity beacons of our world.
Okay.
So they have these amazing strengths, but because we don't create space in a corporate structure
for them,
for humanity at all, they often don't feel like they belong there.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't see as much of them, but I think that has more to do with where I'm working.
Yes.
Than their population size.
Yeah, I would think for as long as I've been in business, I would have a 4, but I've never had a 4.
Well, they're highly individualistic.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of 4s, but they tend to be solo creatives, or in the spiritual world.
Spiritual world.
Yeah,
okay.
I find a lot of 4s in the woo space, and they're seekers.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So that's, for me, I don't see as much of that.
Okay.
But when I do get a chance, I love having those conversations with 4s because I'm like, I've never thought about it that way.
It's kind of mind blowing, huh?
Yeah. They have these really expansive, because they don't want to be tied to what's already done. So their brain is always looking for what's new and different.
Yes.
It's really cool.
Okay. I wonder if Haley's a 4. Nice. I figured. She was in my space not too long ago. She led a yoga class.
Yeah, you felt that.
And I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something about you.
Yeah.
I love Haley. Haley is the bomb.
Yeah. Well, and she exudes that, like, I'm going to do this my way and I'm going to bring you along with. And something I really respect about her is that she doesn't shy away from the dark conversations.
No, we actually had a hard conversation that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you have a 4 in your life, that's what they bring, is the ability to go deep and a little dark if you need to be. And they're there with you. Whereas if you have a 7 in front of you, they're like, I don't want to do the deep and dark.
Nope.
I just want to have a good time.
Yep. So, Calvin.
And so you have different, like, what I've also learned is, like, when I look at my friends, I'm like, who is my friend for which thing?
What do you mean?
Like, when I just want to have a good time and, like, just
let loose.
Yeah. I call my 7.
Okay.
When I want to have a deep, like, world rocking conversation, I'll call my 4.
Yeah.
And these aren't like hard and fast rules, but it's nice to know that there's a little bit of everything in my life. Like my 5 friends, I'm like, hey, did you research this so I don't have to? That's real. That is so real. I'm like, so you have a good book list. Can you just send it over?
Yes. Yes. So it's about balance. Okay.
It's completely like my, I think my CFO is a 1.
Okay.
Good and right. What's the right thing to do? I love having that strong moral compass behind my checkbook. Like, thank you.
That's my wife.
Yep, exactly.
She is 100% motivated by what is right versus wrong.
And so and you'll notice that you guys both, your gut body base, like when you are at head to head, it is hard to move either of you.
Yes.
But whereas you don't necessarily care if it's right or wrong. You're like, well, I want to do it, so I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait a second.
I don't know about that. Well, like I've taken a lot of calculated risks in building Invictus. Mm-hmm. And I remember, the space that we're in currently, I was like, no way, absolutely 1000% no way would I ever take a risk like that. I would never go out on a limb hoping that this was the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here we are 3 years later.
And here we are. And that's the, I think that's the thing that's the strongest, I think, about us as eights. The thing that is our strength can also be our drawback. Because, we'll step into these things, but I have stepped in some shit stepping into those things. Mm-hmm. Now, my ego is set up to be okay with that because we like it. We're good with hard.
Yeah.
But when you're like, I want to get it right, that risk isn't always worth the reward.
I think for me, I've learned to live with, I can always learn from whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's how I've ultimately come to peace with the decision I've made.
Yeah. I think you see a lot of 8s and 3s in business ownership, and I happen to have a lot of 8s that are my inner circle because we get it.
Correct.
We get how we get it.
Well, we can relate on a level that I think a lot of people really have a hard time understanding the whys behind the decisions.
Why are you doing that crazy thing? And I'm like, I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah.
But I feel my energy going that way.
My gut.
Yeah, my gut tells me yes. Mm-hmm. And it's not that it's always right, but I do know that I always learn something.
Correct.
And I know mentally I can survive it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, I really wish I would have thought about what survival looked like there. But here we are now.
Fuck it.
We're in.
Yeah.
Too deep to get out.
Yep. That's what, all the time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that was a conference we went to last year, and I was like, it was like 6 days in, and I was like, we got one more day, guys.
Yeah.
One more day. Sorry I put you in this, but we got to make it
through.
The
amount of times I have apologized to my team and been like, okay, we're going to moderate that next time. I am not going to be in charge of that choice. Each time I'm like, okay. But you have to, I think one of the cool parts is like, I want to go big and then figure out where I messed it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think that's something that 8s generally have in common. It's like, I'm just going to do the thing and then I'll iterate on the thing.
Mine's more so I'm going to do it and how can I make it better the next time?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So like you had your conference, right?
So we're already iterating.
I'm sure. I cannot imagine the amount of debriefs that you guys have had.
So many.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just constant.
Yeah. Well, and, there is that perfection. I have a highly perfectionistic nature. Okay. I want it to go really well.
Are you a 3 on the back end?
2.
Okay.
8, 2, 7. So for those that are like, what is she talking about? We all have an action style, an 8, a 9, or a 1, a feeling style, 2, 3, or 4, and thinking style, 5, 6, or 7.
Yes.
So I act like an 8, feel like a 2, think like a 7.
Okay.
But the perfectionist thing, when I was doing a deep dive, I was like, for me, gaining autonomy and control over my own life when I was a child.
Okay.
If I was good, no one told me what to do.
Okay.
So I really became the good girl in order to get my autonomy. So I was not a rebellious, little 8. I was a perfect little 8.
Stayed in line. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because that's how, I could go to Iowa City when I was 17 to visit my boyfriend at college because I was so good. My mom trusted me to do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had so much freedom.
Yeah.
So much freedom.
Okay. That's probably why you're like that today.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So when I think about my evolution, it's really, I've had to work on, I don't need to control every single aspect of this experience.
Yes.
But when we're iterating on this conference, we all come together and we're like, what did you see? What did you see? Mm-hmm. What did you see? And we've got, 6 different opinions.
Yes.
That are coming in. And that's the collaborative part that I think when I really started to let go.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It is, because together, I told my team about the conference leading up to it, the 4 months of planning, hard as hell. Hardest thing I've ever done.
Really?
So, absolutely. That conference, 100% the biggest lift since starting Ivory House 7 years ago.
Okay.
Like financially, emotionally, scare wise.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the fear of God was in me over Christmas. I was like, I'm crying on the team, like, team, did I do the wrong thing? Like, oh my God. And they were like, but they were so on board that I knew that I was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was their confidence in what we were creating that got us to the end of that. Okay. Because I think if I would have been in that, I know that if I would have been in that on my own, I don't know if I would have had the fortitude to continue all the way. Like we needed every single person.
Every 6-person team.
Yeah.
Out there.
All of them.
Yeah.
And the feedback we got from the conference was so much about the teamwork. Yeah. And about the cohesion. And I was like, this is always what I wanted to create.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah. That's amazing.
So we're planning the next one. The dates are September 21st and 22nd.
Yes. And do you know where yet?
Yeah. We locked in the Botanical Gardens again.
Again? Okay.
Yeah, but we're going to be in the big room. Yeah. So we'll see you there.
Okay. September 21st and 22nd.
Yep. So that'll be the second round of Enneagram for Evolving Leaders. And we have more capacity this time. We're shooting for 125 in that room.
Dope. Okay. So here's the $1 million question then. If you took the Enneagram conference this last time, right? Yep. Can you take it again?
You can absolutely come again. We're iterating, so it's going to be different, but it's going to be a lot of the same content. Okay. But we're taking what we've learned and up-leveling. Okay. I would say if you came the first time and you're bringing your team members and you want to be a part of it with them, come. Okay. Or send your team. Yeah. So they have the same amount of knowledge. Okay. But it will be similar content. Okay. And then our third iteration, just for you guys.
Oh, wow. I don't even know about this. This is like fresh off the press. Yeah.
So we'll run this the same for the second time. And then the third time, we're going to add a day at the beginning for people who've already gone through the conference.
Oh, okay.
So that we can have an extended day of learning, because I want people to be able to come back and keep growing. But, I'm practicing one thing at a time.
That is one thing an 8 has to learn how to embrace.
So, and I ask my team all the time, help me with one thing at a time. Yes. And they are.
Yeah. Okay, dope. So if I wanted to sign up for your conference, where do I go?
Yep, you can go to evokeq.com. Okay. There's already a wait list. So it's you just put your name in.
Damn, you got a wait list already, girl?
Yeah, we just put it on there. Okay. So, I mean, the amount of feedback, I was like, this thing's going to get filled. I don't want to go with more than 125 because I want to keep the room intimate, but I'm a little, anyway, it'll go live in like mid-June. Okay. So it's a ways before this thing happens and starts, but you can go get your name on the email wait list so that you can be the first to know, because it's going to be a thing. And I'll send that to you. So you have it.
Yes. So it'll be you, Chelsea, and Eric again.
Yes. So for those that aren't familiar with this thing, I was lead on it, and then my partner Eric and my really good friend Chelsea have done a ton of emotional intelligence work. They're also Enneagram certified. They are incredible in their own right as speakers and educators. Yeah. So they facilitate that with me. So it's not just me talking the whole time.
No.
That's not fun. And there's a lot of interaction in the experience.
Yeah. Eric is a 2. What's Chelsea?
Chelsea's a 7.
Oh, nice. So you got the
one
whole
from
spectrum.
Yeah. So our goal, it was really, I would have chosen Chelsea either way, but I loved that she was a head type, because as an 8, I'm a gut or intuitive type. Sure. Eric's a heart type. If you've ever met or heard Eric, you will know that immediately. For sure. And then Chelsea is the 7's that head type. So we could really land from each of the perspectives what we were doing throughout the conference.
Oh, yeah.
And it just gave us some variety.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's nice.
It's a good time.
Okay, Calvin, did you learn some stuff?
It's been a while.
I'll take that as a maybe.
Did you learn more about you listening to Whitney?
We didn't get to the 7s when I was there.
Oh, he wasn't there for the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll be back again in September, homie.
Yes.
Okay, so Whitney, that is our time. I can't believe 30 minutes
Flies.
went by. Well, you're gonna have to come back, because
obviously,
I personally think Enneagram is incredibly fascinating.
Yeah, it's my favorite topic in the whole world.
It's like this weird deep dive into people, and you're just kind of like, oh, it makes so much sense. Yes.
And I think When you're set up the way that we are, it gives me so much calm when I understand somebody else.
I would say that's a piece of it. And then if I was to look at it from a business standpoint, it helps me understand my team better so that when they know I'm pressing, I tell them in their initial interviews, at times you'll feel my foot to your neck. And they're like, what? And then they feel it. And then we have to talk about things afterwards. And then I'm like, so in a sense, I'm not catering my leadership style. I'm just trying to understand them so that I can help them be a better person. Or a better creative.
When they can hold you to that too, they get you. They be like, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And they can ask you the right questions.
Yeah. And so I think as a business person or somebody that came from the corporate space, if I would have had the tools that I have now to understand my teams that I've had in my corporate life, I know 100% my interactions with them, all of them would have been so different.
Yeah, it changes the game.
It really does.
Yeah. So if you want to interact with people better, Enneagram, let's do it.
Yeah. All right, gang. So check out Whitney. I mean, we flash everything inside of here, so there's going to be lots of B-roll because we have lots of B-roll of you.
Yeah, that is true.
And you have a couple different websites that we can flash.
Yep.
So
yeah, come find me.
Check out Whitney, Evoke EQ.
Yep, Evoke EQ and Ivory House Photography.
Check that out. And then, Whitney, you're going to have to come back for real.
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, we out.